What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. We are back again, second time this week, because playoff basketball, playoff hockey, and even shit in the NFL. A lot of stuff's happening, Casino. I think we might switch back to 2 days a week. Because, if we tried to do a week, we'd be talking about, four different... Or we'd be talking about 7 nights of games in a 2-hour, it'd just be too much.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. We got to be, realistically, we should be doing this every day, but I ain't got the time for that.
Yeah, I think 2 days is perfect.
Look at these eyes. Look at these eyes. I ain't got the time for that.
But how we doing today, Casino?
Look at these eyes. Look at these eyes. I ain't got time for that. No, I'm doing all right. You asked me, so I was going to tell you, but then you just cut me off. True BJ form.
Fine.
No, I'm not.
You said you were doing fine.
When people say they're doing fine, does that mean they're really doing fine?
No, but
how are you doing? How are you doing, BJ?
I'm doing fine. But no, don't you hate that when you're just in a small talk with either a customer or some rando, and you're just like, oh, hey, are you? Or how's it going? And if they say anything other than good, you're just like, huh, I really wish you just would have said good. I didn't.
Now I'm screwed. Now I'm in this conversation. I don't want to be here.
It's instant regret where you're just like, now I wish I didn't ask. But
it's true.
I'm fine is also one of those ones where you're just like, I could do a follow-up, but I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it
walk
go.
Away.
Yeah. But I do want to say...
We're fine. All right. We're fine. Continuing.
Shout out to a show I started watching this morning, Casino. I think you would like. I want to get the word out on it because I have one friend who told me about it. I've not seen or heard anything else about it from anyone else. It is, and season 2 starts in 2 days. It has one of the worst names for a show ever. It's called From. Okay, that's just the name of the show. From. Yeah. It's on MGM Plus, which I didn't even know MGM had a streaming service.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I am not buying another streaming service.
But no, you don't have to watch it on MGM Plus. You can watch it on Amazon. They have the whole first season for free up there. And it's called
got the Amazon.
It's about this town where there's these
we
ghouls.
Don't know where they're from.
No, there's these ghouls or demon kind of things that inhabit this town of regular people. And once you go into the town, you can't leave it. Okay, so this town traps people in it, and then the people have to stay. The second it gets dark, they have to stay in their house, and they can't look out the window because the only way these things can get you is by you looking out the window, and they make eye contact with you, and then they convince you to let them in. And then once you let they brutally murder you. But they look like
so
normal
it's like
people.
that. It's like that. The one with Sandra Bullock, where her eyes are closed, and because if you look at them, then they get in your brain, and then you're dead.
Yeah, but this is more they don't mind control you. They look like someone you know or someone you've lost, and they're just no, it's really me. I need your help. I need you to open the door to let me in kind of thing. It's they trick you by playing on your vulnerability and that kind of stuff. Or, if you're oh my God, my wife who I lost 5 years ago is here. I want to see my wife, that kind of thing. It's not mind control, but it's really fucking good. It's really good. I'm only 2 episodes in, but first 2 episodes, crazy shit's happening, Casino. So shout out to that random show I have nothing to do about. From. It's on Amazon Plus or MGM Plus. All the fucking pluses. Why don't you just say the regular name of the thing? What is the plus? I don't know. That's part of my stand-up bit. All right. But you got anything, Casino, before we dive in sports-wise? Any shows you've been watching?
No, I just rewatch all the shows that I already love. So that's all it is.
You do feel like a doesn't really watch any new stuff guy.
Oh, no. I watch a ton of new stuff, but it's always on in the background because I'm too busy to sit down and watch new stuff. I only get time to watch new stuff at night. So, like, currently I've been watching The Bad Batch and Mandalorian and, oh my gosh, what am I blanking on the other thing? Oh, I've been into that show Ghosts, the American remake of the British Ghost. I've
I
enjoyed
heard
it.
that show's good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's silly sitcom, but it's fine. But during like the day, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm the kid. I want her to like play with her toys instead of like watch Miss Rachel or whatever, and yada yada. I'll put on my shows in just the background, and they would go from there. Which
Yeah.
happens to be kind of more Star Wars stuff or Avatar, Last Airbender, Troll Hunters, animated stuff that is very good.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done with season 2 of Don't worry, guys. We'll get to sports. I'm almost done with season 2 of The Good Place again. Such a good show.
That's a really good show. From
Yeah.
is not a show you can watch around children. It's very gory.
No.
It's very bloody. It's very fucked up. It's fucked up.
And speaking of that, let's get into the NFL, which is gory, bloody, and really fucked up.
Yeah. Good segue.
That was our whole elaborate scheme, was to set up the NFL.
Also, shout out to Luke, who you've met a couple times. He's the one who
Luke?
recommended From.
I figured it was either Luke or Justin. So
yeah, it was Luke. Luke recommended it, but so the NFL. Do you think now that the NFL has a gambling problem? Because it's like everywhere, and it's so fucking easy to gamble. You can literally, if you don't live in Vegas, you can literally just download an app and there you go.
So here's the thing. It's easier also to get caught gambling. Yes, it's easier to do
because you always have to put
now.
in your social security number.
Right. But back in the day, like having bookies that were super off the grid, this and that, like it was hard for stuff, and social media wasn't as prevalent. It was harder to find somebody gambling on games. I mean, I would just assume. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume it would be harder to get to find somebody gambling on games. But nowadays, it's much easier. Technology, you can always, smart tech people can figure that shit out pretty easily. So no, I think it does have a gambling. I think it's always had a gambling problem, but now it's really showing its head because it's not as easy to do it without getting caught, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's how I think.
And ironically, like most things, like the NFL does that thing where they're like, we'll partner and be spokesman for you, but we don't allow any of our players to do it. So of course, the past 2-3 years now, all of a sudden every sports show on ESPN or Fox or CBS has like the line and the over under and like the betting odds, and then DraftKings and FanDuel and all this stuff are now like
and OnlyFans
partnering
and what?
Grinder. They're all like partnering with different sports leagues and being like, DraftKings, the official betting partner of the NFL, only no one attached to the NFL is allowed to gamble, which is a weird fucking thing. That'd be like if our main sponsor was like a strip club, but we were like, we can't go there. We're married. We can't go to the strip club, but we support it and we love it and it's the best. And then everybody would be like, no, you don't. Like, it's just this weird conflict of interest. So we're talking about this because this morning there was breaking news that the NFL suspended 5 players. Most of them apparently Lions players were the ones who got caught.
4 of the 5 are from the Lions. Oof, man.
So
and this is supposed to be a good bounce back year for him.
Yeah, and now CJ Moore, Quintez Cephas, I hope I'm saying that guy's name right.
I don't know.
Jameson
Said this, yeah.
Williams, or no, those two I just said, and Shaka Tooney have been suspended indefinitely with the minimum sentence being a year. So, based on what we saw with Calvin Ridley last year, the wide receiver for the Falcons, I'm assuming it's a year suspension and then they can come back next year. But at the moment, they're suspended indefinitely. Uh,
And I hate that. I hate that word
so do I,
indefinitely.
because we
It
know
means
it's
you.
not. They're not.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh.
Jameson Williams is, I guess, one of the big ones for the Lions that was suspended. He's their wide receiver. He was suspended 6 games because they found out he was literally betting games in the Lions facility, which I guess, but they were non-NFL games. So that's why the report is that's why he was not suspended for a year. He was betting other sports,
Is he
which
not allowed to bet
again,
other sports?
I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't think you're allowed, if you're in the NFL, you're not allowed to bet on anything. Which again, if you're an NFL player and you're betting on the NBA, why the fuck would that matter? Who gives a shit? But I guess they just have a sweeping no betting policy, even though all their sponsors are now fucking betting sites. But also the last news on this is uh the Lions had a bunch of staff members in various departments who also violated the gambling policy and pretty much have all been fired.
So
And
let me
then
ask you this: yeah, they were. Do you think that the NFL was just did a probe? Do you think we'll find out later that they just did a probe only for like the Lions? Obviously, you have the Washington Commanders player as well, the defensive end, Shaka Tooney. But do you? It just feels like there's a lot of teams out there, and all of a sudden, it's just all these Lions all these Lions players and staff. That just seems a little odd to me. I wonder if there was
yeah,
like a tip off of something like, "Hey, look, they're doing this behind closed doors. Come and check this out.
well,
Clean the house."
it's also weird that, I mean, these, like, the Jameson Williams is a big like, I quote unquote big player for the Lions. I believe he was one of their first round picks a couple years ago or whatever. But the other two guys, the other wide receivers, Cephas and the center, CJ Moore, after they got suspended, the Lions immediately released them. So I wonder if that was like same with the staff members, where that was like an edict from NFL like management being like, you
Hmm.
need to like do us a solid and like make a big deal out of this by like basically being like, you get suspended for this, you're fucking done. Right. But I do wonder, because like we talked about it, Vegas became famous for being one of the only like 2 or 3 places in the United States where you could legally gamble, right? That's where we became like Sin City and all that kind of stuff. There was Atlantic City. And then all of a sudden, over the past decade, it's like, and then obviously there was, uh, reservations and stuff like that where you could go and gamble, but that was outside of the norm, blah, blah, blah. So over the past decade, you keep just hearing like this state has now legalized gambling. This state legalized gambling. And then it's just slowly been where it's like, now I'm assuming most states you can gamble in, like you see the DraftKings or FanDuel commercials. There's only really like 5 states left where it like doesn't work, and we're one of them just because the casinos don't want them taking their money. So it might even be fewer like actual states where you can still gamble there, you just can't use an app to do it. You have to go to like a casino or a sports book, blah blah blah. So with this happening, casino, what is the scenario, or do you think there's going to come a day where a name like, let's just throw it out there because he's like the face of the NFL, like there would be a time where it's like Patrick Mahomes got caught betting, would they still be like, you're suspended for a year? Like, uh,
I
that's the
don't know.
policy. Like, what happens basically when it's a known player, not these kind of guys who are just like, oh, we'll just release them?
I think it will take longer to get the suspension down, and it'll be like this whole well, you can play this year, but then we'll figure out the suspension next year. We need you in the NFL. We're gonna just give you a slap on the wrist kind of thing. Like, and that's an issue. That's just an issue in NFL altogether. Whenever somebody does something wrong, and then all of a sudden this, and if it's a high end player, you don't get the suspension that you should, unless the NFL just hates you. Um, but no, I totally agree that if it was like a Patrick Mahomes or something, or let's just say Patrick Mahomes, oh my gosh, Jalen Hurts, there we go. That's what I was thinking. Those are his superstars. Those are the people bringing him all this money.
Mhm.
There's no way that he is going to be like, you're gone from this league for a year. There's no way he would do that, because Roger Goodell, if we know anything about him, he wants money. He's money hungry. He doesn't care about the players. So he's going to do what's best for the NFL, which is, I don't care if I gave these guys a 1-2 year suspension. I'm going to give you 4 games, because I'm going to come out and say, oh, well, it was this, it was unclear. We're not sure if you did it, but no, you did. So he would find a way, he would workshop a way. The NFL's rigged when it comes to how they treat their players. They treat people differently because they want to make more money. So yeah, no, 100% it would be different for Patrick Mahomes or a Jalen Hurts or anybody that's high up there than, just a nonchalant bench player.
Now, I was just scrolling through Reddit looking for like the latest news on this, and I just came across this one by a reporter named Pellicero. Unlike other NFL personnel, players are permitted to participate in sports betting, just not on NFL games and not on any sports while inside the NFL venue/facilities. So I'm assuming that's why the Lions wide receiver only got suspended for 6 games, because he was betting on other sports just in Lions facility, which it's, again, seems like a dumb rule, because as a football player, aren't you like, this is, I know it's your workplace, but it's kind of also just like where you are all day. I don't know. That seems ticky tacky, but it's also, I guess, just 6 games. If he would have got suspended a year for that, it would have been like, we're fucking joking, right? Like,
Right.
but I guess 6 games, whatever. All right, Casino, you ready to start talking about the playoffs?
Yeah, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? How do you want to hit it?
Let's first talk about, so our last episode was Tuesday. So the Tuesday night games, both in the NHL and NBA, all of them were blowouts. There wasn't one good game Tuesday night, I don't think, in
Yeah,
either
no,
sport.
that's true.
Like, I don't
The
in
only one I did like the Colorado Seattle matchup, but with that one, it was an open goal up there at the end, but it was still just a good game. It was a hard fought game, but all the others I could barely watch.
Yeah,
They were all so boring.
they were bad. And then
I mean,
the Hawks
they were
Celtics,
playoff, so they were, so for the NHL they were fun games because it's playoff hockey. There's a lot of harder hits. It's faster pace, but besides that, and just watching the fun of being playoff hockey, the games were not that good. All right, continue. Move over to your
no.
NBA. Shoo.
Yeah, but same with the Tuesday games in the NBA. Celtics basically blew out the Hawks. I think that series at this point is, I've always thought it was going to be a sweep after the 2 games we've seen so far. The third one's tonight. None of that has changed. It's going to be a sweep. Knicks Cavaliers is a series that's tied 1-1, but both games have felt like they weren't as good as I thought they would be. I think this matchup on paper is much more interesting than when they actually play. I don't know what it is about these 2 teams, just the styles clash for me, so I'm not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. And then Clippers Suns, it was literally just Suns being who everybody thought they would be. Russell Westbrook again kind of reverted back to the Russell Westbrook he's been all season and not in game one, proving game one was kind of an anomaly. But we can start Wednesday with maybe my favorite or top 3 favorite NBA playoff game we've seen so far, which is Lakers Grizzlies. The Grizzlies end up pulling off what I thought was just a crazy impressive victory against this
Dominant.
Lakers team.
Dominant.
That, I mean, there was 5 plays where it was Schroeder on the Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies played so fucking aggressive that it was like 5 plays in a row. Somebody on the Lakers, it was either Anthony Davis, LeBron James, or Schroeder. They were trying to play like bully ball, and the Grizzlies literally just knocked them down or like knocked them away or just like stood still and kind of like did the brick wall where they couldn't even move. It was like so impressive how hard hitting this basketball game was, but there was no like hard fouls, which we'll get to when we talk about last night. There was nothing like egregious, like the Draymond Green, Sabonis thing. It was literally just 2 teams being like, I'm going to go right up the paint. And the other team being like, no, you're not. I'm going to stop you. And then they just did. And it was, Schroeder was just getting his fucking dick kicked in. LeBron James was like, I'm going to go through these 3 guys. And the 3 guys were like, no, you're not. You're going to go on the ground. And then that just happened. Like, it was, I don't know. I don't think the Grizzlies have a shot in this series. I think this might have been, they're too banged up. All the weird shit they've had this season with John, all that kind of stuff. But for one game, I was really impressed with just the mood and attitude of a team I thought was like dead in the water.
I mean,
Did
they
you
played
watch
really
any of
good
this game,
team.
Casino?
No, I didn't. But they played a lot, maybe like 10 minutes. They played a good team basketball. I mean, their starting 5, they were all in double digits. They all had at least 1 assist, had at least 1 rebound. It was just a good team basketball. And I think that's where they were end up to beat the Lakers was, I mean, you said it was physical. I didn't get to see that much of the game, but it was just looking at the stats, says it all from, I'm a big believer in you have to win as a team in almost any sport. NBA, I know, is kind of the anomaly with that.
Yeah.
But when you do work as a team, it does help you out tremendously, and it showed.
And then we could move from
And that's
that
without
one.
John Morant,
Yeah. Well, there's also that weird thing that happens with some teams. Like the Hawks are kind of like this without Trey Young, and the Grizzlies are like this without Morant, where their team's records are actually better with them off the court. And it's like that weird anomaly where you're like, the best player on your team kind of makes your team worse, which is concerning if you're either a Grizzlies fan or a Hawks fan. But next up, the game that it was Heat Bucks. Bucks came back. They tied the series 1-1. I think now, especially with the Giannis injury seeming like it's not going to linger, Giannis Giannis did not play this game.
No. I was going to correct you on that, but I figured you got around to it.
Yeah, but they didn't really need him because the Heat,
no.
I think the Heat's issue is they're okay defensively, but their offense runs through either Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero. So if all you have to stop is Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero's just out, and he's out indefinitely pretty much, because I don't think the Heat are going to get through the Bucks. I think the Bucks are a better team. The Heat culture, and they have more depth than the Bucks, but they just don't have firepower. I just don't know how they're going to keep up with the Bucks, even without Giannis. And then when Giannis comes back, he might even sit out this series, but I don't think they want to risk it. I think he'll be in the next one.
With Giannis out, you had 7 players in double digits. Like,
Yeah.
They're too good. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. They're the team that you expected to win, um, coming out of the East. So, no, yeah. Uh, when Giannis comes back in, they could easily reach 150 last night, or Wednesday night, not last night. Okay, and then so you're down there. Denver doing what they're doing against Minnesota. Finally, Denver is putting together a playoff series. Jokic moving on. I'm just moving on to Timberwolves Nuggets, saying Jokic, just look how great he's doing. He's finally doing something in the postseason. Granted, it's against the Timberwolves, but still, you're getting production. You might get to the next round here. It looks like you're going to. That's some momentum you could build off of as somebody who's been struggling and a team that's been struggling in the playoffs consistently from year to year.
Yeah. And then last news on the Giannis thing is I misspoke. His injury is lingering and he might not play game 3. I don't think the Bucks will need him in this series, but when you get to the next round, it's going to be you're playing either the Celtics, you're playing the Sixers, you're playing the Cavaliers or the Knicks. If you're playing the Knicks in New York and you don't have Giannis, like, could something happen? I mean, maybe not. I think the Heat are a better team than the Knicks, but if you don't have momentum going into the second round and you don't have your best player, you have good players. I don't know if you have good enough ones to overcome a hostile New York crowd, or the Sixers with how great they're playing, the Celtics with how great they're playing. Like, the East is a 3-team race, but again, if Giannis is out, like, that's gonna lose a lot of people a lot of money, because if I was a betting man, I would have put all my money on the Bucks at the start of this playoffs, just kind of going right through it. And then that game 1
And that's
happens,
why we
and
don't
now,
gamble.
yeah. But Nuggets, Timberwolves are done. I think this is a sweep. The Nuggets are too good. The Joker is too good, and kind of like Giannis, I don't think they really need him to be what he is in the first round. I mean, Jamal Murray just went off this game, but they do. I am curious to see, like, this Nuggets team and Joker against a team like how the Lakers are built, where they have Anthony Davis in the paint, where he can't kind of get the smooth transitions in the middle that he's been getting, where, he makes Anthony Edwards look silly by doing 3 different, where he he fakes him again, he steps sideways, and then he kind of goes up the other way. You're
Yeah,
not going to
so
be able to
it's
do that.
the triple deke.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're not going to
clock
be
is on
able
my
to
mind.
do that on a player like Anthony Davis, or honestly, if Golden State gets through the next round, you're not going to be able to do that against someone like Draymond Green, because he still is so good defensively. So then it's like, can Jamal Murray keep this level of play against better teams? Like, I don't know. We've seen the Joker kind of melt down in later rounds of the playoffs. So again, the first round of the playoffs, I think those round 1 or those first games were kind of anomalies, because now all the series have kind of shifted back to what almost everyone predicted they would be. Like we saw last night where the Suns beat the Clippers again, and the Clippers had a good game, but there was never really a moment in that game where you were like, the Clippers are going to win this. Like, Kawhi was still great. Russell Westbrook's reverted back to what Russell Westbrook is. If they had Paul George, I think they'd have a better shot, but they don't. And he seems like the one missing piece that would have actually let the Clippers maybe tie this series or maybe take it to 7. But I think that one's over. Celtics Hawks is over. And then Casino, the 76ers Knicks last night, 76ers Nets, I'm sorry, was close. The Nets gave kind of their best shot at the Sixers, and then it wasn't Hardin, it wasn't Embiid, it was Maxey who came down, hit a very clutch three, and then had a steal, and that pretty much ended the game. But
Well,
the
he had a
two
good night.
notes,
He was 5 for 8 from the 3,
he
Maxey was.
was
So, I
on
mean,
fire.
you wanna give the ball to him. He was the one that was so, I wasn't surprised. I did watch most of that game. I was not surprised with how that or why that they gave him the ball at the end of the game. I mean, he led the team in points. He led the team in points. He led the team in field goal percentage, three-pointers. Why not give him the ball? It was the hot
Well,
hand, and he showed why.
it was also because Hardin had been ejected for the first
Hmm.
time in his life because
Which is hard to
he
believe, by the way.
that is crazy that this is the first time he's been ejected. And even this ejection was real ticky tack. Like, I don't know. I've seen this play a million times. They're saying he intentionally hit the guy defending him in the nuts. I would have to,
What is with basketball players and nuts, man?
I mean, they're just right there. They're just right there. But who is it? It was I don't oh man, I can't remember the guy's name. But he Harden kind of has the ball and like flinches and then the guy kind of goes down. I don't know. I mean,
Bridges, Finley Smith, Johnson, Claxton,
I think it was Claxton.
Dinwiddie. There it is.
I think it was Claxton. But yeah, it was especially in stuff we've seen in the playoffs where certain people have gotten calls, like for that to go, or like really questionable calls, for that call to go against Harden. I mean, it wasn't really like a must-win game, but it was a game that was closer, like, so that could have definitely swayed it, like to give the Nets, a victory that maybe they didn't earn, quote unquote, but it ended up being the Sixers won despite that. So I don't think it's going to be as big of a story as it would have been if, he would have got ejected and then the Sixers would have just fallen apart and the Nets would have won. Then I think there would be more dialogue around it. Though the other interesting thing that happened 2 minutes into this game was Embiid got taken to the ground, and then the guy who took him to the ground kind of tries to do the Allen Iverson, Ty Lue step over,
Step
stare
over.
down thing. And Joel Embiid was not having any of that and like put his leg up and kind of like kicked the guy away. That I think he did get a foul, but I was concerned if that would have been an ejection. I think it would have been the roof would have fucking came off Philadelphia. But
Well, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, but that's taunting. They say no to that, so
Oh
don't
no,
do that.
Claxton was the one who tried to walk over Joel Embiid, not the
Hmm.
one who got hit in the nuts. So yeah, so Joel Embiid, he technically has more flagrant fouls than Draymond Green in half the games played and was not ejected after that groin kick. So again, I don't think Draymond Green would have gotten ejected from that one game and suspended if he wouldn't have done the shit after. If he would have done the fucking basketball player
I still
thing where
don't
you
know.
put your hands up and like look around and be like, what was I supposed to do? Like, what was I supposed to do? It was the
Well,
antics afterwards that got him suspended, I
yes,
think.
but I also still think that doing he lifted up again and then pushed back down. I was fine if you pushed off, that was whatever. Don't
Yeah.
grab my foot,
Yeah,
but don't
maybe
jump
make it
up.
not so obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, don't re-lift your leg up after you already have it on him and then sit back down into his chest. Whatever. Doesn't matter. They still won. They won the third game. You called that. You're right. It is Steph went off. Oh my gosh. Did you see that one where Steph shot? It was like half court. And he just was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna shoot it. Just boop.
The
This game wasn't
the
even fun.
Warriors, they're
This
just
game
a
was not even
diff
fun. This was a blowout beyond reason.
yeah, and they're just a different the shocking thing about the Golden State Warriors this year is how the anomaly in this series so far really was how good Golden State played on the road in the first two games, where those games were actually close against the Kings, because the Warriors have been damn near abysmal on the road this season, like abysmal. So the irony is they played 2 games they lost on the road, and they actually looked better than most of the games they played on the road. But at home, they're just like a different animal. I don't think we've ever seen, or I can't remember a team we've
There's
seen that
magnets in
is
the
so
ball. There's magnets in the ball. All this stuff. It makes the balls go in. I don't know.
it's just so like night and day difference. Like I would bet all the money I had, speaking of betting, on Golden State at home and literally not bet a penny of them on the road. Like it's just we have too much of a sample size. It's and
Just so you know, I only have the guest room till October. So you say you bet all your money all the time. Like either you're just really lucky, or just throwing that out there.
hey, I
Stop doing
did
that.
say the Warriors they would win last night's game, and I think this next game is going to be similar to what we saw tonight, where it's going to be like De'Aaron Fox. They kind of kept him in check. They kept him in check a lot more than the first 2 games, but he still had a good game. The Kings still had a good game, and that game was never close. It never felt like the Kings had a shot to win. Sabonis made his presence felt, but again, by grabbing 16 rebounds, he had 15 points. Like
16
you
rebounds,
can beat Golden
0 feet.
State. Yeah. You can beat Golden State in the paint in rebounds, but you're never going to be able to outshoot Golden State, especially at home. Like you're saying, it was one of those Steph Curry nights, which he has more than any player, where it's just like half court. When he shoots up a shot, you like there's 90% chance it's going in. Like where it's other players where you're just like, no way that goes in. With Steph Curry, he does shots where you're just like any other player in the league, you'd be like, no way and fuck that's going in. But when he does it, you're like, that's in. Like it's not even a
Right.
question. You're just
I
like,
mean,
all
but
right, like,
they weren't that great though from 3, man. They were
well,
16
that's because they
for
take
50.
so many.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then also the Kings, they were only 11 for 47. They actually had a worse 3-point percentage, but still 16 for 50. You shot 53 pointers. Jesus.
Yeah, that's the modern NBA for you. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much the Suns Clippers. Now the Suns are up 2-1. The Sacramento Kings are up 2-1 with still another game to go in Golden State. So I think that series will even out 2-2. Suns Clippers, I think the Suns have kind of figured out the Clippers, and I'm more curious to see what they do against in the second round. So tonight we have Celtics Hawks, which I think Celtics blow them out again. Maybe the Hawks can sneak one, but I don't think the Hawks have any shot. Cavaliers Knicks is going to be a game I watch, but I'm still trying to feel out even what this series is. I don't know. Nuggets Timberwolves, it's over. Nuggets, and then we'll talk about the rest of the games when they happen. But anything else you want to talk about in NBA Casino, or can we move to NHL?
Yeah, we can move to NHL. I didn't pay much attention to the NBA, I'll be honest. I tried.
I mean, the
There was just
games weren't that good.
so
There wasn't really any good games.
hmm. Well, the thing at my place of work, more people come in outside of being a Lakers fans, because there's a lot of Lakers fans here now in Vegas. But outside
Thank you
of
for
that,
reminding me. The
yeah, let's hear.
before
Is this a rant?
this is a tiny rant because we've
Fuck the
talked
folks.
about this we've talked about the scheduling, right? Of like the NHL and NBA where they're putting so many fucking games in like a 4-hour window. It's like really fucking annoying. So, in order for that to happen, last night they had the Suns Clippers on NBA TV, and then on TNT they had the 2 other games, right? So they had Golden State and the Kings, and then they had the Sixers and Nets. So Sixers and Nets was alone by itself, and then uh Golden State Warriors Kings started at 7 our time, West Coast time, and then they started Suns Clippers an hour later, right? To kind of offset those games starting against each other. So when Golden State
Stop.
and the Kings were a blowout, I was like, oh, I'm going to switch over to NBA TV and watch Clippers Suns. Guess why I couldn't, Casino?
The entire bar said no.
No, because they blacked out the game on fucking NBA TV because we're in that area. So in Las Vegas, the games
I
that get
hate this.
blacked out are Lakers, Clippers, Kings, Suns. So we get 4 of those. Two of those teams 10 hours away from us. Like it's like Golden State and the Kings are like a 10-hour drive from Vegas. Arizona's 5, and then Clippers and Lakers are like 4. Or no, probably Arizona's 4 as well. So an NBA playoff game, because it was not on national television and it was on NBA TV, was blacked out in our area. Why? Why are we getting fucking blacked out playoff games? Like that, but money doesn't even make sense. It's like I can't even I have NBA League Pass. It doesn't even show it live on NBA League Pass. I had to watch it when I got home on the replay because
Oh, dude.
even
Well,
live for a service I pay for, I can't watch it live. Like a playoff game. What the fuck are we doing? What are
oh
we
no,
even
I
doing?
mean, no, and it's absolutely awful. I mean, I I can't stand that. So like go for like the NFL for instance. This is the first year I did the um NFL Sunday ticket thing. It was on DirecTV. They're switching it over and doing something different, but I struggled because there was games that I wanted to watch that I couldn't watch on the NFL Sunday ticket because they were playing on my TV or they're playing locally. I don't
Yeah.
have I don't have cable. It's too expensive. Cable's outrageously expensive. So I was like, okay, I'll get this. And I watched a lot of it on Red Zone, but it's still just the whole TV rights thing, the whole
It's fucking
money
dumb.
grubbing thing. It's dumb. People want to watch. Why not let them watch? Because you want the extra dollar, like $10 for somebody to download your app. Well, if you get enough
Yeah.
people to do that, there's your money. And it's all about
Well,
fucking money. I
but
just can't stand
it's
it.
the thing where, like you said, and like I just said, we both already pay for the app services. We already pay for the thing those 2 separate leagues want us to pay for. And then we still can't watch the games. Like, why? What more do you're basically forcing your customers who bought the shit you wanted them to buy to illegally pirate your games because you're making it impossible for us to watch the games we want to watch even though we pay for your service. Like what a fucking what fucking idiots these fucking sports leagues are. Like, oh, we're in Vegas, so we're going to block out all Northern California, Arizona, and Southern California games. So me living in Vegas, you want me to drive to 41 Lakers, Clippers, Kings, Golden State Warriors, and Phoenix Suns games. That's what you're telling me. Like, yeah, that's a real fucking reasonable request, you fucking idiots. Whoever came up with that whole thing, fucking idiots. Idiots, Casino. Now, please. That just reminded me. Last night when I was trying to watch the better game of the 2, I couldn't because there's no reason. Like, it's fucking dumb. Okay. Rant over. Now we can go to the NHL.
I appreciate the rant. I always love your rants. They make me happy. They make me happy.
Ugh.
All right, so rolling into NHL. This is a high scoring. If you're the owner of the NHL, if you are fans that just like high scoring games, this is the season for you. These games are absolutely outrageously high. So Tuesday night,
bet the over in all these.
oh,
All
so
these.
far, yeah. So Tuesday was the second night, and every home team got blown out. Every home team lost Tuesday night, which put out of the first game out of the 8, first game of the 8 different series, 6 road teams won. Absolutely crazy. New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. 5-1. The Rangers absolutely handled the Devils. The Devils have been good all year. This is a 3 versus 5 seed. Devils been the 3. So you kind of expected they were on home ice. Rangers went in there, smoked them. Tampa Bay went into Toronto and absolutely smoked them. I mean, yes, if you're just a casual hockey fan, you've heard Tampa Bay a lot. They've won a lot of cups recently, but they've moved some players around. Other teams have gotten really, really good. And, it's just hard to sustain that top tier of excellence. So Toronto's actually supposed to win this series, even though it's a 6 seed with Tampa and a 4 seed with Toronto. Toronto should win this series. That's who everybody's picking to win this series. But Toronto does what Toronto does. They always flop in the playoffs. So they got absolutely smoked 7-3 in that first game, just completely throttled. Seattle, Colorado, that was the only interesting game really going on there. I've actually called this, and we'll get into where their standings are now in a minute, but Seattle scared me. I don't want to see Seattle. That's why the last 2 games of the Golden Knights regular season, and we had to win them to win the Pacific and to win the West. I was like, I'm scared of playing this team for the last 2 games. And they're like, people are like, yeah, why? Whatever. Because they have a high scoring offense and they're fast. They are absolutely ridiculously fast. And look what they're doing to the cup winners from last year. Throttled them 3-1. Not really that bad. That was the only interesting game that night because Vegas, Winnipeg Jets. This is the worst game. I've watched almost every Vegas game since they became a team. And this is the worst. I would say top 5 worst games I've ever seen the Golden Knights play in franchise history. They were flat. They couldn't keep the puck up there. They couldn't win a face-off to save their damn lives. Just a really, really bad game. And the Jets just took it to them on home ice, 5-1. What's up?
I watched this whole game, and this game was oddly and eerily similar to the Lakers Grizzly game we were talking about earlier, where it was just like the physicality, and they were just getting pushed all around the ice. And there was never 1 second where you were like, the Knights got this. You were just like, throughout the whole game, it was almost that thing where it was just like, how many fucking goals are the Knights going to lose this game by? Like that was brutal.
Right.
That was a brutal.
And you know what the crazy thing though, I'm looking at it is it shows face-off wins. The Knights actually had a better percentage, but it did not show it because in the key moments,
it never felt like
it did not.
Yeah,
it never felt like it. In the moments where you needed to win, when they're on a power play, you need to win that and get it out of your zone. They didn't goal. So like on the important ones, they weren't doing it.
All right, we're back. A little bit of technical difficulties that we got.
This
resolved,
time it was me.
But
this was my toaster this time.
And I got a piece of pizza. We're good now. But
that's what I had for lunch. Wonderful.
We were speaking about the Golden Knights game casino.
Before I
want
moved
to talk
on.
about the fucking crazy injury that happened in this game.
Oh yeah. So it was in the first and just absolute dog pile. Puck scramble. It was a great save by Amadio on the back end. Their player comes around, tries to dish it in, and then it's just a shit show in front of the net. Everybody's diving on top of everybody. The Vegas goalie, Laurent Brossoit, somehow sees the puck. I couldn't see the puck from every angle they had it. He dove back onto the pile, grabbed the puck, but in doing so, another player came down as his skate was lifting up, which is Barron, by the way. Oh, sorry, I had it up here. Morgan Barron. And he gets hit from behind from Chandler Stevenson, the Vegas guy, pushed him like onto the pile. But as soon as Stevenson hit him, he realized what was happening. And there's a great picture of them, though, where Stevenson's like pulling him back up, looking at his face, making sure he's okay. So
that was brutal.
Skate right across the eye, or not across the eye, right next to the eye. 75 stitches right next to the eye. If you've not watched it and you're okay with being gruesome, go check it out. It was just, there's a very close-up view where you see blood already coming down the skate while the skate's in his face. It's the photography.
Dude,
skills of this was fantastic for somebody to get that while the skate's in his skin with blood coming down the skate. They're already showing it.
And then this fucking guy comes back
Because
into
he's
the
a
game.
hockey player. He's not
75
a
stitches.
sissy
Dear Lord.
basketball player. He's not a little baby back bitch. He came back 75 stitches. They just stitched him up, threw a helmet back on him, a full face guard, and he went back out and played. Because
Your
that's a
team
hockey
wins the
player.
game 5-1, guy. Just you're fine.
Well,
Like, take it easy.
at that point, it wasn't. At that point, it was only a 1-point game. You never know. And so he came back on, but hockey players don't think like that. Hockey players, they want to play. So I mean, I was going to get into this a little after, but perfect example. Last night happened to be the same two teams. Vegas takes a shot on a power play, and it hits Connor Hellebuck right in the face mask, and he's like slow. He takes off his mask and waves the ref over, which the ref does not have to call it unless it's clearly off. It's to the ref's discretion, but the ref clearly saw that it smoked him square in the face at like 90 miles an hour, and the helmet rickled, and he was not feeling great. So when he took his helmet off, all of a sudden you just see bloop coming down his face, and it's because the puck hit his helmet so hard, even with all the padding in it, it still cut him. So what does he do? He probably needed stitches, but they just went over to the bench, they wiped it off, and threw a bandage about this big over his face, because there was only like a couple minutes left in the period, but they threw just a giant bandage over his face and threw him back out there. He put his helmet back on and continued playing, even though he just took a puck to the face and started bleeding through his helmet. So hockey players are built differently. I love hockey. They're actual real men. I couldn't do it. I'd cry like a baby back bitch and get kicked out. So now moving on to Wednesday, things were a little bit better here. We're still high scoring. Going this one. This one was a fantastic day. No, why am I totally blanking here? Oh, yes, because that was a previous game. Carolina, they're doing what they're doing at home. I figured, like I said earlier in episodes, where I was thinking Carolina could be the team to knock down the Bruins. Well, they're doing great. They're 2-0 against the Islanders. They took care of home ice, but this was a closer game. It was 4-3. But now they go to New York for 2. We'll see how that plays on out. Boston, the undefeatable Boston, they got beat by the Panthers, and not in just like small fashion. They got absolutely worked by Florida Panthers. They ended up being 3-6. So a lot of people are like, oh no, they lost home ice advantage. Brewer can be able to do this. A lot of people expected the sweep. So that's why a lot of people are concerned, is because they expected the Bruins to sweep. They are like, oh no, they're a chink in the armor. I expect them to get through the Panthers, but I did bring up it would be tough for this team, this Bruins team, they're used to playing teams where they're not playing them back-to-back. And now that they're going to play back-to-back, coaches and teams and players might figure them out. Do I still think they get past the first round against the Panthers? Yes. Do I see them getting past the second round against either the Lightning or the Leafs? Possibly, yes. I think it's really going to come down to the Eastern Conference Finals, because I think the Canes are just going to roll right through. I think their biggest chance of losing is going to be versus the Canes in the Eastern Conference Final. That's my take on it. And with the throttling that Florida gave him, it almost proves my point. I don't think this was an anomaly. That Boston, when they start to play teams, if in a series, teams will figure them out. They are pro players for a reason. And this year, the top 3 teams in every division, and I know the Panthers are a wild card, but everybody who's made the playoffs deserved to be in the playoffs this year. And the teams that barely missed the playoffs probably deserve to be in the playoffs this year. This is one of the most exciting years of hockey that I've watched, and I've been watching hockey for over 20 years, that I can remember. This is a very exciting playoffs. It feels like it could go any way. Every team is just kicking ass, scoring a lot of points. So kind of wondering.
And this was the Panthers Bruins game where the Panthers beat them 6-3. That was probably my favorite game I've watched in the NHL playoffs that wasn't close. Like, this was
Mm,
a fun blowout because it was like you expect it to go the other way, but then when it's happening, you're like, how are the Panthers doing this? Like, that was, and
that's
then you
fair.
also never felt like Boston couldn't just immediately score 3 goals and be right back in it. Like,
That's fair.
that was
My
exciting
favorite
for a
my favorite game
blowout. That
of
was a
this
good game.
my favorite game of the NHL playoffs so far is that first game against Minnesota Dallas that went into double OT. Not just because it
Yeah.
went into double OT, but it was a
Well, that's why
hard-hitting
I said
game.
like first game that wasn't
Got it.
close.
You
Like,
got it.
yeah,
Well, that was
it was
that
fun.
that that was by far the best game because it was the most hard hitting. I mean, Pavelski got absolutely rocked. He's out for who knows how long right now. So yeah. Um and so yeah, then the Edmonton did get back with LA. LA did not be able to pull off this amazing comeback like they did in game one. Kind of what everybody expected. Edmonton's just going to score too many points on LA, and there we're at. The surprise for me was Dallas coming out and whooping on Minnesota the way they did. Um, Nothing against Pete DeBoer, but when players get injured, I saw it firsthand with the Knights. It seemed like he had trouble. It seemed like he had trouble figuring out lines and putting people together. Maybe he just had trouble with doing it with the Knights players when he was there, but he did really well with the Dallas players with Pavelski out and moved some pieces around, and they absolutely dominated 7-3 against Minnesota. Um, Fleury did not look good in net, and people still question why Vegas got rid of him. There we go there.
Well, not
So
most people, just most people we know who talk hockey casino.
yeah,
Shout out to Keaton.
Keaton. Hey, what's up, buddy? How's it going? But and then going into game two for the second half of the 4 different games, Toronto showed up. They did what they expected to do against Tampa in the first game, which I thought they would do. 7-2. Yes, Tampa still has home ice advantage, but I think Toronto will snap this out, get back into the lead. I think they'll steal game 3 here. Ooh,
This is
sorry.
my pick. Who I think wins it all this year, casino. I'm picking Maple Leafs. From the 2
No.
games I've seen them play, I think they got it. I think they're doing it.
No, they lost their first game. No, I don't think it. No, Maple
I
Leafs.
know, but even in loss, this is my pick.
No, dude,
Maple Leafs.
that's fine.
Book it.
If that's the case, yeah, Toronto will burn to the ground. So go visit it now because they would lose their absolute mind. They've been chasing this cup for way too damn long. The Rangers, Patrick Kane had an absolute stellar of a night. Ooh, sorry, I'm having some heartburn today. Ew.
Too much pizza.
Kane comes out. He has a goal and 2 assists. This is why he was the hot ticket come deadline, is why you wanted him. Patrick Kane just dominated the Devils. All the other players had really good games. He only scored 1 of their 5 goals, but he had 2 assists. But his puck possession, the way he distributed the puck, the way he took over the game, this is why you get Patrick Kane. This is why you spent as much money and you went out as much as you could to grab Patrick Kane. It's because he is one of the best players in the NHL, especially the one that was up for grabs come trade deadline. And now they're going back to New York, to Madison Square Garden, and New Jersey Devils are down 2 in the series. Does not look good for them. Colorado, Seattle, really hard fought game. Seattle was in the lead for the majority of it, and Colorado comes back. They're showing why they're the Stanley Cup champions last year. I'm expecting that series. I'm expecting, honestly, all of these Western Conference series to go 6 games, if not 7. 100%.
Yeah.
These teams are all so equal. It's all the way down to the Jets, all the way down to the 8 seed that the Knights are playing. This is so tough to pick a team coming out of the West. That's why if I was a East team, I would be worried. Even if you are the Bruins or the Canes, I would be worried to play the West because the West aren't playing teams that are going to just blow out. The West are playing very tough hockey teams, and they're going to be doing it the entire time going into the Cup final. I
They're
would
going
be
to be
scared to
battle
play.
tested.
Yep, exactly. I would be scared to play any of these teams in the West if you're coming out of the East. And then that leads last one to the Vegas, Winnipeg last night. Absolutely fun game. I will be honest, when Winnipeg went up and scored, I was like, well, shit, here we go. We're going to get swept. And I wasn't trying to be just a Debbie Downer fan like I normally am with my teams. I'm not an optimistic fan. Never am. I'm always the first one to say in like my Patriots group chat when they lose their first game, well, there goes the season. We're done.
Yeah.
You just set
You
up
and I are
shop.
very similar in those senses.
Yeah. But and
Yeah.
last night I kind of did the same thing, but I truly felt it, not just being wasn't just trying to be a silly fan. I really thought they were done. I thought they were done because I was hoping they would come out and they had to jump in their step. Yes, a lot of players came back on that first game that were coming off the injured list, which you're excited for, especially the captain Mark Stone. White Cloud came back from injury. Theodore had only played 2 games in the regular season before started playoffs after coming back from an injury. People were injured and shuffled up. So I was hoping that was just a bad game on the first game and they were going to snap out of it. That first period of last night's game looked the exact same way. So I was very
Mhm.
worried about that. Um, but they had a penalty kill. William Carlson gets the goal. It ties it up. They seem to have a jump in their step. And by the end of the game, Mark Stone looked great in the third period, not so good in the first two. But Mark Stone, for him, this is where I think the turning point is for Vegas and why I think now they're going to still probably go 6 games. I think Winnipeg will still win one, maybe even 7. But why the Knights are going to play better hockey moving forward. And I know I'm talking about the Knights more than the other teams, but a lot of analysts think this is the one series that's going to go 7 games out of the majority of the games.
Ooh.
Jack Eichel finally got his first playoff goal in his second playoff career game. The monkey's off his back. He's got a goal. He's got 2 games under him now in the playoffs. I think now he settles down and he actually plays Jack Eichel hockey. And Mark Stone getting him back in the fold, getting the monkey off his back of coming back, and monkey off his back is Chandler Stevenson because that dude about snapped. Mark Stone's had 2 back surgeries in a year, so it's smart to just jump on his back for the celly. Fucking
Yeah.
idiot. But anyway,
Hey, it's still better than a skate to the face.
yes.
That's what
But he did
the
put 2 in, and he did it in really good fashion. So now that you have your star player, your captain, both scoring, and one of your misfits from the misfit line, which is we call them the misfits here in Vegas because they were part of the original Vegas group that played really well together with Marceau, Carlson, and Smith. But you're getting production. So I think Vegas is now going to figure it out. And remember, I did pick, not being biased, but I did pick Vegas to at least go to the Western Conference Finals. And we'll see how that plays out from there. But I like that all their players are coming back, and the players that did come back started to look good. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've got for hockey.
Well,
A
and
lot
I'll
of
tell you
fighting,
what.
a lot of fighting, a lot of ejections from every single team, and I'm very happy with this because this is playoff hockey. And the
Yeah.
teams, when you get a team, when it's a close game, you don't see a lot of fights. Typically, when it's a blowout, you see a lot of fights, and there's been a lot of blowouts this season, and there has been a lot of fights, and it has been fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And I
if you
think
want to
in
watch, if
terms
you want to watch fighting, just watch hockey playoffs. The
well, especially
greatest.
tonight because for playoff Friday, I just said none of the NBA games really interest me. So it's a hockey night tonight because Hurricanes Islanders is a good series. Bruins Panthers I want to see, especially after that last game. Stars Wild might be the best first round matchup that's going on right
Oh,
now.
I think so, 100%.
So I think those 3 first ones are all must watch, and then you got Oilers Kings to kind of like end the night. So it's a hockey night tonight, Casino, and not
Oh
our
yeah.
team isn't even playing. Just these games are good. Uh, but yeah. So, do we have anything else you want to talk about
No,
before we get out of here? Can we call it?
I think we could call it. This has been kind of a rough one. A rough one. We've had both technical
Yeah,
difficulties. Mine with my toaster, which hey, if you want to sponsor, we've talked about this. You could buy me a new book. You could buy me a new iMac book, Macintosh books,
I'll
hardback
get
books.
Apple
I
on
don't
the
know,
phone.
whatever
Uh,
this
uh,
is.
yeah, I'll get
I'm
I'll
not
get
an Apple
Apple.
guy. but
I'll get Google. Well, there you go. We'll get Samsung, Galaxy, whatever, whoever wants. We'll get Mint Mobile. We'll call up
I
Ryan
mean,
Reynolds, see
every
if he's
time, yeah,
interested.
every time I look down, I just see Windows 7 here on my computer, like the little tag that's like emblem that's like
Yeah.
stuck on the laptop, and I just start laughing. I'm running off of Windows 7, everybody.
I mean, good year. Great year. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. We'll be back 2 times next week to continue talking about a pretty fun playoffs so far, both in the NBA and NHL. So, yeah. You got anything else to add to the people this evening?
No.
And this is the Only Sports Podcast.
I love
Adios.